Hello and welcome everybody. I'm going to run through a few images that I took the other day. Something a little bit different for me. I went down to the Overcliff down in Barton-on-Sea in Dorset. I thought I'd take some images of some people walking along the cliff edge, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently. And how I did it is I actually sort of sat on the floor and put the camera flat on the actual grass and took the images with the camera slightly pointing upwards, but I defocused the image. I tried different sort of variations on the defocus until I got somewhere where I was happy with, and these are some of the images that I got. So I'm just going to run through a few with you as to what I did to them to get the final image that I was happy with. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you an image which I created, and I'm going to run through with you how I actually edited it. I'm not too sure whether I particularly like it or not. The jury's still out on that one. But I'm going to show you how I did it anyway. So first of all, let's run through a few of these images that I took. I'll show you the actual raw file, and I'll just tell you roughly what I did to them. First up is this image which I took of this girl. Now I was really sort of pleased with this. This is the raw file out of the camera, and I was really pleased with the sort of shape that had been created. I like the fact she was looking down. So what I did is I turned this into a black and white, which I thought suited it, and I put a texture background in it, and this was the end result. Now I actually posted this on Instagram, and I actually wrote a little note in there saying that this image was the first image I'd taken for a long time that I was really pleased with, and I am. It just seemed to somehow work. It certainly worked for me anyway. The second image is actually of the same girl, but I sort of caught her just coming into the frame. Now what I was actually doing with these images is I was putting the camera on slow burst mode, so it was taking about 5 frames a second. So as the people were moving across the image area, I was sort of capturing them at sort of different positions. That's how I was doing this. But I quite liked the fact that she was sort of just coming into the frame. So this is the raw file out of the camera. Now I did crop the foreground out because I didn't think that did anything for the image. And this was the actual edited image. As I say, I turned this into a black and white. Now the texture that I put on this was actually a texture of some raindrops on a window, which I thought suited it. It did look as if you were looking through a rained on window at her, which I thought suited the image. So yeah, I was quite pleased with that one. There's just something about it, a lot of negative space, but it seems to work for that particular image. Now this particular one, again, this is the raw file out of the camera. I wasn't really too sure about this one, whether to leave it in colour or whether to turn it into a black and white. Very abstract. It was actually 2 people walking side by side, which you can just about make out if you sort of look at it closely. But I did turn it into a black and white, which is this, and I put the same texture of the raindrops over this. And do you know what, actually I think that worked better than the coloured one. For me it did anyway. Not too sure about this one. I don't know. There's something about it. It's very, as I say, it's very abstract, but it's different, and it just seemed to work. So yeah. This is the last one before I show you the image that I'm going to show you how I edited it. This was actually, I went up there 2 days on the trot, and this was the second day. I didn't get as many good ones on that day, but I did get this one. Again, this is the raw file out of the camera, and I turned it into this. Now, again, I actually used this raindrop texture for it, which I thought fitted it pretty well, but I played around with it in iColorama and put a texture on the background and coloured it in the presets, and then I got this sort of painterly effect with it, which is very similar to the one that I'm going to show you how I edited it, so you'll understand how it was done. And I thought this one sort of worked pretty well. I was quite pleased with this one. Now this is the image that I'm going to show you how I created it, and it was actually made up out of 4 images, and it was this chap walking across the area of the camera from left to right. And as I say, I'm going to show you how I joined them all up together, how I got this background effect and ended up with this final result. So I'm going to now show you the 4 images I used and how I joined them together. So these are the 4 images, and I'm going to use this one as my main image to work on. And the first thing we have to do is put this into Photoshop Elements, and I need to create a blank space to the right hand side so that we can actually layer over the other 3 images. So I'll now run through with you how I did that. Okay, so this is the base image that I'm going to use. Now, for those eagle-eyed people out there of you, you'll notice he's walking in the opposite direction to the final image, but that will become clear why that is in the end. So the first thing we're going to do is we've got to create a space on the right hand side in the frame so that we can overlay the other 3 images. So I'm going to go up to image, and I'm going to go to resize, and I'm going to go to canvas size. Now the canvas size in the width is 27 27.77 centimeters. Now we've got to add another 3 images to this, but we're not going to use the full width of the images that we're going to overlay onto it. So we're going to multiply that up to give us space to overlay the images. So I'm going to change that from 27 to 90. There we go. And I have now got to click this arrow on the left hand side, which shows on what side of the image this blank canvas is created, and we're on white, so we're okay there. So just click that, and you can now see that it has given us a blank canvas for us to work with. So we're going to go up to File, Save As, and we're going to save it as a JPEG. Actually, in the original I did save it as a TIFF file, but for these demonstration purposes we're just going to use it, save it as a JPEG. Save. Already exists, that's okay. Maximum, that's okay. So yeah, we're going to save that in there, and we're now going to open this image up in iColorama. Okay, so we've opened up in iColorama our base image we're going to work on. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Effects, Blend, and we're going to open up our second image. And as you can see, it's too large for the screen or the canvas. So we're going to pinch that and reduce the size of it. And now I'm going to move it across to roughly about there. And we now want to get rid of this hard edge on the left hand side. So we're going to go to Brush Mask, and I'm just going to paint out that area there. Okay, so we're going to apply that setting. Now I've now got to go back into steps and reopen that, otherwise our brush mask will continue to sort of work where we don't want it to. So we're now going to open up our second image, which is this one, and again resize it to about there. Move it to the position that we want it roughly, and again brush mask, get rid of that line on the left hand side. I've gone a little bit too far there, so we're going to paint that back in. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. Again, apply, go to steps, reopen it, and we're now going to blend in our final image, which is this one. And again, resize. To about there. Brush mask, get rid of that left hand line. There. Just reposition it slightly there. And we're going to apply that setting. So there you have it. There you have your 4 images layered into one. I'm not worried about this white line on the right hand side. We can crop that out later. So once that is applied, we now got to go to the next stage of this image. We are now going to put a textured background on this image, and the one I'm going to choose is this one, and we're then going to just click on fill so it fills the whole image. And then we're going to go to the presets for the overlay, and I'm going to pick multiply for this. Now you have to appreciate that this is trying to replicate the image I've already done, which can be a little bit on the difficult side, but that's our basic image with the overlay. So we're going to apply that setting, and then I'm going to go to the color tones, and we're going to go down the various presets, and I think I chose this one, which is number 19, which is given this lovely sort of reddish background. So we're going to again apply that setting. So the next stage is we want to give this image that painterly effect in the background, and we're going to do that by going into a brush tool. So we go to brushes and then to tools, and we're going to pick in the preset smudge number 2. Now we don't want this effect on the actual person themselves. So what we're going to do is, the first thing, we're going to go to the brush mask, and we're going to just paint in, put the show on so we can see. We're just going to go in and brush in the image of the person like this. We're going to do this very roughly at first. Okay, I've got the show box ticked, so it shows us where the actual mask is. And then we're going to go to erase, and we're just going to erase out the edges. Just roughly. It doesn't have to be 100%. That's it. We'll turn off the show, and now that area will not be affected by our adjustments. So we're going to knock off the brush mask, and we're now going to pick a brush, which is, I'm going to pick this one here, and we're going to alter the size of it. Now with my finger, I'm just going to sort of brush the background. You can see the effect it's giving me. It's giving me this sort of painterly effect. Now I probably spent about half an hour sort of getting this exactly how I wanted it. So to actually replicate that again is going to be sort of time consuming and difficult. But it does give you the idea that I used to get that, as I say, painterly effect. Okay, so once I actually was happy with that, again I applied that and reopened it in the steps. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is reverse it, because I thought the chap would look better walking from left to right rather than right to left. So we're going to go to Form and Mirror, and that has basically flipped the image over, which is the way I wanted it. So again, we're going to apply that setting and then reopen it like that. Now the final thing I did to this image, I wasn't really sort of all that keen on, I don't know, I wasn't really sort of keen on it. I thought it could do with being sort of divided up. So I wanted to put the lines through this image, and this is how I did that. So if we go to the brush tool and go to paint, go down to our brush tools and pick out this one, which is lines. I'm going to pick out the thin line, and we're going to alter the colour from white to black. Now I'm going to maximize the size of that line. Now if you see, what happens is if I just click on there, that is the full size of the line, which doesn't go from the top to the bottom of the page. So we need to alter that. Now how we're going to do that is I'm going to reopen this image, and I'm going to minimize the size of it, and I'm now going to go back into the brush tool, paint, pick my brush, which is the lines, thin line, change the color to black, and now when you see, if I click on it or tap on it, just a minute, I've got to maximize the size of the line. If I tap on it, it fills the page or the image from top to bottom. So I go along and I put my lines in. They're not in exactly the right place, but it gives you an idea of where I need them. If I'm not happy with one, I just undo and then re-click it like that. So that's how I got this sort of divisions in the image. And once you apply that and you reopen it, it reopens it to full size with the lines covering right from the top of the image to the bottom. So that was it in iColorama. I then opened it up in a Capture NX2 and just did a few alterations to it in there. Okay, so we've opened this up in Capture NX2 editing software, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it to size, just trim that bit off the left hand side. Yep, that'll do. Next thing I did to this image was I went through all the settings actually to see what suited it, but auto levels I thought made the image quite nice, so we kept that, and then I just gave it a bit of saturation and a little bit of warmth. But yeah, you must appreciate this is sort of trying to mimic exactly what I did to the other image, which is quite difficult. But yeah, so I was quite sort of pleased with this. I'm going to put up the actual image again that I did keep. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. Some days I like it, some days I don't. What do you think? Do you like it, or do you think it's rubbish? It's a little bit different to what I normally do. But yeah, that's about it. I hope this has sort of given you a few ideas. And it's always difficult to get inspiration. I find that's my biggest challenge, is to sort of get inspired and get ideas. So yeah, I'm sure it's the same for everyone. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like below. It's always much appreciated. I'm nearly up to 1,000 subscribers now, so I'm getting pretty excited about that. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Until the next time, this is John Dexter saying bye for now.